Hi, welcome to Kassy's Parlor. I'm so excited that you're here. Today we are going to be using my most favorite set from the Maker's Movement, along with some other supplies from them to make the cutest, most awesome shaker card you ever saw, okay? So I might be a little biased here, but this is called Fortune Teller Stamp and Die Set, and I'm so totally in love with it, I just can't even tell you. And the card that we're going to make is going to be super fun and cute, and I can't wait to get started. So let's get to it. So I'm going to be using the double-sided adhesive foam from the Maker's Movement. We're going to cut through it using the crossover 2. I'm going to show you all of it. It's going to be amazing. Okay, so we're using that. And then we are also using some clear acetate sheets from the Maker's Movement. They look blue. I'll show you what to do with that. There's film on it to protect it, so we'll take that off. And then we're using this awesome stamp and die set. This comes together in one set, 15 pieces, and it's got some great sentiments, and we're going to do some really fun stuff with it. I'm also going to be using two shaker sprinkle sets. Okay, so one is called Shooting Star, and it's got these really sweet purple with pink kind of outlined stars in it. And then this is just black, like glitter confetti stars. Okay, so those are going to be our shaker bits, and here we go. So first, I always like to get the cutting part out of the way, and then we can assemble and ink and play and have fun building the card. So first, we're going to take our card base and matting pieces, and I'm going to set them aside. And then this is the acetate piece that I was telling you about. I'm going to leave the blue on it while we cut so that when we're ready to assemble, I'll peel off those layers so it keeps it nice and pristine until we're actually ready to use it. This is my foam piece, so I've already cut them down to the size they need to be so I don't waste any. And then we've got some extra bits here. We're going to do some cutting and stamping and fun stuff. So let's get the crossover 2 machine. Okay, so if you've never used this before, I do have a video on my channel that walks you through what the crossover 2 die cutting machine is and how it works. It's fabric and paper cutting system. It is amazing and very strong and works great for cutting several layers of paper or fabric. So here we go. So it has Velcro here to hold it together, really nice for storage. So it doesn't take up as much room when you're storing it. So from this set, I'm going to be using almost everything actually. This is the base, you can see here. That's going to be cut out of gold, okay? And I'm going to tape everything down and get it all situated, but just so I can show you what I'm using from the set. Now I have already cut it apart, so they come all kind of stuck together with little thin, thin metal connectors, and I just used my wire cutters here to cut them apart so that we could have each of the pieces individually. It's got a crescent moon here, which I'm actually not going to use, sadly. I love it, but I don't think I have a spot for it today. I am going to use all 3 of these stars and cut out a few of those, and then we'll do some stamping in a bit. So let me just set this aside so we've got room to play with this stuff here. Move that over. Okay, so now one of the things I really love about the cutover 2 is that I can lay all of this out because it's such a large surface. I can lay it all out and then cut all at the same time, you know, and I don't have to run many passes through. Sometimes I have to do a couple passes depending on, you know, how many times I need to cut something, but you know, if you're just cutting everything once, you could just do it all at once, and it's pretty awesome. So I'm going to cut up, okay, cut into this cutting plate, and I'm going to start at 2. And we will just run this through here really quick. It's only because it's a different thickness than the paper. And I want to make sure we get a nice clean cut through here. Okay, we are good. So one of the things anyway, that I really love about the crossover 2 is that if you took this adhesive backed foam and ran it through other other machines that would actually cut through it, it would just squish it down and it makes it kind of unusable. The Crossover 2 allows you to cut through it but still keep the integrity of the foam and the thickness. So that is pretty amazing. So this is like honestly one of my favorite things about this machine is just it gives you a lot of pressure, but it also doesn't mess up your foam and things that you're doing. So now I've got this awesome piece of foam. This can just be, you know, to lift something off the page that I can use on another project. I'm definitely not going to waste it. And then I've got my ring here out of foam that I can use to make my shaker part. So we're going to put that aside for now. So let's see, I've got my acetate, okay, that needs to be cut out of this bigger circle, and I'm going to tape everything down so that it stays in place, and I'm just going to use my surgical tape. I just got this on Amazon, no big deal. It just works great for this kind of thing. So I'm going to cut that circle out. I only need one, so that's good. I need to cut this out of this purple. So this, look at this paper. It's already got like a galaxy in it, and I thought how cool would this be to be the background of the fortune teller globe piece. Okay, so I actually am going to need to cut that out of here. So I need to cut out that section because I need to cut this out twice for two different dies. So I'm going to cut out this section. I wanted to be able to choose what part of this because there's so many great parts to that. Okay, so then this is going to cut through. I just want to make sure I get it right because I want some of the stars in there. This is going to be so cool. I'm very excited about this. And then I'm going to actually just move this tape over so it's holding both of these together. So this is, again, nice thing about the Crossover. You can cut multiple pieces at once that I need to cut out of here again because this is going to sit on top of the foam to cover it up. So I need to pick a spot. I think we'll just go over here. It doesn't have to be as particular because it really is just going to be like a border, and you'll see when we do it. It'll make more sense once we are putting everything together. So I'm going to cut that out. Okay, I've got room for everything. And then I'm going to do the base out of this gold. I think that will look really cool. All right, I'm going to stick this down, and then I'm going to cut out a bunch of stars. So even though we're doing 2 layers here and 1 layer for the rest of the stuff, I think we can still do this in one pass and it's going to be just fine. So I'm going to cut this down because I need to reuse this gold. But do you see how I'm just like doing little bits here and there? And it's still going to cut everything out beautifully. I've got these stars here. And I want to cut out all 3 stars a few times. So what I'm going to do is take a strip of both of these, okay? And I'm going to cut it down to a smaller size. And I'm going to just stick these stars down, okay? And I just need a few. I don't need a ton, but I want to have them in the mirror card and the glitter. I think that'll be really fun and pretty. So this is going to give me 6 stars, and I think that'll be enough, but I could always cut more if it's not enough. But we're just going to start with this. Okay. All right, here we go. So we're going to start with this, get my top cutting plate, everything is ready to go, and we are going to run it through. Here we go. Oh baby, you can see already it cut through everything. Look at this. Some of it is coming up onto the plate. Look at how pretty this is going to be, our border. Oh, I'm excited about this. This is going to be amazing. I love when certain projects just get me really fired up, and this is definitely one of them. Look at this background. Isn't that the coolest paper ever? Oh my gosh. Okay, then we've got our acetate piece That's going to go over top. Just getting all the bits out here. Making sure everything cut nicely. And getting rid of the extra. All right, so we got that. And now we've got this nice circle I can use somewhere else. Okay, so then we've got the base. That's awesome. We're going to stamp on top of that. Okay, and now we've got 2 layers of stars, and look at this, no problem whatsoever. So now I have a mirror card star. Okay, so now I have a mirror card star and a gold glitter star cut at the same time. So that's really nice. I don't have to do a bunch of passes to get that done. And the same will be for these other 2 stars as well. They're really okay. So now we have everything cut out. We are going to start assembling the card and building our background. The first thing I want to do, so our card base, 5.5 by 5.5. So I've just made just a sturdy white cardstock. This is Neenah cardstock. And then for the first mat, I've got shiny black cardstock here. It's so beautiful, and it mattes really, really beautifully. And I thought with the colors that we're using on here, this would be a nice, nice way to accentuate that. So these can sit off to the side until the very end, but I just wanted to tell you, you know, the size of the card and what we're doing. So then we're going to use the stamp set that's in here. It has a ton of really cool sentiments, some bigger ones and some really small ones depending on how they fit in your layout. But they also, and then there's this stamp that goes over your base to give it some detail. Really gorgeous. And then there's these 2 little side pieces, and they are an eyeball and some stars. And I'm going to use these 2 to create a background pattern paper for our fortune teller globe here to sit on top of. Okay, so I'm going to use these 2. Take them out. I really love these stamps. They are clear, but they're photopolymer, so they hold the ink really well and they stamp beautifully. So I'm going to do the eyeball first, and I'm using Catherine Pooler Queen for a Day. I love this purple. It's very rich and aptly named. So I'm just going to tap this on here because her ink is very juicy. Wow, and I just realized when I tapped it, there's a little star in the eye. Oh, this is so, so cool. I love this stamp set so much. Let me see if I can show you. Kind of hard to see, but there's a tiny little star in the eye there. I think that's just such a lovely detail. Okay, so we're just going to stamp all over. Sort of random, but also, you know, wanting to leave room, of course, for the star, because we're gonna stamp the star. I want to go back over this. It's not going to be perfect, but that's okay. Oh, it's not bad. So definitely leaving room for that. Some are sideways, some are straight up and down. You know, you can even go upside down. You just do what works for you. But making pattern paper and backgrounds are really, really fun, and you have so much you know, freedom in this to do exactly what you want. I want this to be fairly full when we're done, so I'm doing a lot of them, and I kind of am in love with this eyeball, so not gonna lie here. So I think that's good. Okay, so I'm done with the eyeball for now. And now I'm going to use the little stars. And so for this part, I want to use Versamark and this really awesome glittery kind of embossing powder. And this is from Wow. It's from the Tracy Scott line, and it is called Peridot. Okay, and it's going to be really, really amazing with this purple. I just have a feeling. So we are going to ink up. Now my Versamark ink pad is very well loved and old, and that's okay. So I'm just going to put this all over, and these are much smaller than the eye, so they can fit in all the little spots where that you have left over. Sorry. Okay, so I'm just going a little bit everywhere. Let's get some embossing powder on here. and see what we got. I also don't want this Versamark ink to dry too quickly, so I don't want to take too long. So this is kind of like a greenish yellow. I just think it looks really cool with the purple, and the glitter is going to be pretty amazing. Got to have a little bit of glitter in here, right? So, yay, it's so awesome. Oh, look at how pretty. Oh my gosh, this pattern paper is awesome. I don't know about you, but I would buy this pattern paper if it was in the store, let me tell you. And then we are going to heat this. Okay, so now we've got our background paper done. I kind of messed up that one in the middle, but it's going to be covered up, so that's okay. But I am loving this. I think I just want a little bit of purple around the edges to kind of bring it in, and then we'll put our shaker piece on top of this, okay? So let's bring in, I'm going to try the Dusty Concord. It's just a little bit of a different purple than the eyeball, and I think that will look nice. So I'm just going to use a blending brush that I have, and I'm going to pick up some of the Dusty Concord. And I'm not an awesome blender, but this is how I do it. So I put it first on my glass mat and kind of take some of the ink out of it, just so it doesn't give me such a hard line. And then I hold it kind of in one place here, and I move the paper around, and I just bring the very edge of the paper here. So I put a lot of ink on here, so it's pretty dark, but it's giving me a really nice soft edge, which is what I want. So then I just kind of keep this in one spot so my ink isn't going all over the place, and I move the paper around, and that seems to work pretty well for me. Again, I'm not a professional blender, so if you have a better way that you like to do this, please do that. You can also just thwack it, you know, in the olden days of inking and doing this process. This was called thwacking, and you would take a sponge and just kind of dip it in the ink and then just kind of flick it on the edge, and that works too. But you know, this is here, and I like to try new things in different ways, and I think I actually get a slightly darker, more pronounced line around the edge here, and I think that looks really nice. And do you see how it just kind of frames it all, brings your eye into the middle, and it looks great. So thank you, Dusty Concord. That is beautiful. And let's build our shaker. So we need the background, which is going to be this beautiful piece of paper. And then I'm just going to talk about how we construct it, because I think a lot of people get, you know, just don't feel totally comfortable with making shaker cards, and they really can be very simple. There's just a few steps and a few things you need to keep in mind and make sure you're doing, and then you can have great shakers. So the thing that I love about the Maker's Movement is that they offer you this double-sided foam adhesive, and you can cut it out of their machine beautifully, so that this really can give you a shaker in any shape, right? Because you really just need this. You need separation between the acetate layer right here and your background, and you need adhesive all the way around so that when you put your shaker stuff in the middle, it's not going to fall out any holes or cracks. That's really all there is to making shakers, okay? Everything else beyond that is kind of just icing on the cake and a little, you know, extra fun. So once you have this part in place, you are going to be just fine. So here's what I want to do. I forgot that we actually need to stamp the detail for our base, which is right here. So I'm just going to grab that stamp. I definitely want to do that. That's going to just give it a little bit more awesomeness. Okay, so I'm putting that there. Now this one I'm going to stamp in VersaFine Clear Nocturne and then emboss with clear embossing. So it's raised up a little bit and it's black, and it's just going to add that little bit of extra detail that is going to be so beautiful. So I'm just going to get a piece of under paper so I can catch the embossing powder when we do this. And I'm going to take my Nocturne, ink it up. I love this black ink. It is just probably the most beautiful black ink ever. I use it quite a bit. So now I'm going to ink this onto my cutout piece. So one thing that just came to mind, there are different ways that people like to do this. Some people like to ink and then, or stamp it and then die cut it. And some people like to die cut and then stamp. I am okay either way. I generally like to do all my cutting ahead, so I'll just cut it up and then stamp on it. But I do see benefit both ways. So I think you just need to try it. I would say try both ways and see what works for you, and then decide what you want to do. So now while that's sitting here, I'm just going to throw some clear embossing powder on it. I really am doing this just because I want it to be slightly raised and just give it a little tiny bit more detail. I think that looks really, really pretty. Look at that detail in there. So there we go. So now our base is ready. Okay, so now I can stick this base onto the double-sided foam that I just made. I need to first start with the base of my shaker, which is the background. So it can be white, it can be a pattern like this. There are lots of different choices for what you can do when you're building your shaker, but just be thoughtful of think about what is that background. The background's going to show when you're building your shaker. It could have a sentiment in it. That would be really pretty. There are a lot of different ways you can do this. So for this one, I thought that this background would look really nice. So we're just going to put that there, kind of in the middle, but in the upper part. And then this is going to go on the bottom. Whoops, my base. The next part is to put the foam piece that we cut out of just the outer ring. Okay, this is going to make us have the ability to have a shaker. So this is going to go right around the outside edge of this circle. And make sure it's stuck down really, really well. Okay, this is the most important part because you don't want any shaker bits to fall out of this window that we're creating for it. Okay, so at this point, now we're going to add some shaker pieces. So if you had a tiny little spoon or something like that, that would work really well for this. Let's see, I'm going to use just my palette knife here because that's what I have handy. So these are those black little stars, and I think that they would just look really cute in here. One other piece of advice I would give you is to leave this top layer not sticky when you're putting your shaker bits in there, because that is just going to save you some headache, honestly. So I'm putting a decent amount of the black stars. They're really small, so this is going to be almost like your glitter parts that kind of shake around in there. The other thing that I find people do that that maybe is less desirable for them for their shaker cards is either not putting enough shaker bits or putting way too many. And generally people don't put enough because they think they just need a few little pieces. But you really want this to be able to move around, and be fluid and fun. So I think this is going to be just fine. The other thing a tip that I can give you is that you don't want it to be too thick, right? So you want to have like a nice thin layer, and you want it to cover probably most of this window space, but you want it to be, just a thin layer, because if it's too thick, it's going to bump up against the acetate and get stuck, and then it's not going to move around. So honestly, you just have to kind of play with it and get a feel for what works for you. And the way that you do that is by doing it, right? So here we go. We've got some cute little black stars, some of these fun, brighter stars, and then we're going to take off this top layer of adhesive, of the adhesive backing, and then we have to put down our acetate sheet. So our acetate has been cut out of the circle, but it's still got the blue liner on it, so we're going to peel off this liner. So there's one side. And then we're going to peel it off the other side as well. So there's the other side. So now we've got a nice clear circle. There, you can see the reflection. It's still there. Okay, now we're going to stick this down, and your little pieces are going to want to jump up and stick onto it. I'm just going to push them back down. And you just really want to make sure that you have stuck down all around the edges, okay? So now, essentially, you have your shaker card, okay? You can shake it up and down, get stuff moving around. Some of these stars wanted to stand up a little bit, so you're just going to push them back down. But there it is. We've got our fun shaker. Okay, so now we've got to put a top on here, which is what this is for, and that's going to cover up that foam bit, okay? So let's get that stuck down. I'm just using a tape runner. You could use any kind of adhesive here. Whatever you have that works. Just make sure it gets stuck all the way around. Okay. And we're going to put it over. Oops, and then we're just really going to cover up the foam. This is just to help finish it, make it look nice, professional, fancy, and cover up that foam. Oh my gosh, how cool is this? I love this shaker card. This is so awesome. So now it takes a little bit for your shaker bits to, you know, right now they're kind of staticky and they're kind of sticking to stuff, but I promise, give it a little bit of time, let it sit for a little while and come back, and your shaker bits are going to go all over the place and they're going to be just fine. But man, this is so cute and cool. I love the combination and the mixture of the purple and the black stars. You could even add a little glitter in here. You can do lots of stuff, okay? So the last thing, well, we need to put our sentiment here, and we need to put this down onto our base. Okay, so I have got some seam binding here, and I want to make my own piece of ribbon to put down here, and then I'm going to put the sentiment on top of it. I just think that's going to finish it up really, really nicely. So what I want to do first is cut a piece of ribbon. I'm going to cut a decent size length because I want to make sure I have enough, okay, and I don't want it to be white. I want it to be a color. So I'm going to put it on my paper here, and the reason I have this white seam binding, you can get seam binding in all sorts of colors, but I really like the white, or even natural sometimes is fine, because I can make it any color I want. I can spray on this and let it dry and it will be a color. I can rub adhesive over it like I'm about to do here, and whoa, that's so dark. That's beautiful though. And let it dry. You can cover it completely. You can just do little pieces like this, you know, and have it be more distressy kind of looking. And yeah, there's so many things you can do with ribbon to make it your own color, your own whatever it is you need it to be, right on the fly. And then it matches exactly to whatever you're doing. I kind of like it not being totally covered. This is a really dark purple and it's absolutely gorgeous, but I want a little bit of white in there too. So I'm gonna dry this, and then we're gonna use it excuse me, to accentuate our piece here. All right, so let's get our stamping block, and I think I'm gonna stamp in black just to have a little bit of contrast. We've got a lot of purple on here, which is amazing. But we're going to stamp this in black, and I'm just going to cut it out, so I don't mind where it lands on this scrap paper. Okay, perfect and beautiful. I love the sentiment. So that's going to go right down there. Okay, so when I do ribbon like this, I just like to tie it in a knot and leave a nice big open loop. I'm going to cut it in half because it's going to give me enough room to go on either side. Okay, so now I'm going to put adhesive on the back of the ribbon. Okay, so I'm using double stick tape for this, just so I can get a nice strip on here, and it's going to hold it in place really well. So I'm putting a piece on either side. All right, making sure it's long enough for pretty much the whole piece of ribbon, or for the most of it. And then peel the backing off, and then we'll just stick it onto our card. So now I'm going to stick my ribbon down to my card base. I want the tail, or the knotted end, to be more on that side. Okay, and then, oops, And then I'm just going to wrap it around. And the reason I'm doing this before I stick it to my card base is because I just want it to be on this layer of card, and I don't want it to stick around the whole card, okay? So then we're going to put this aside and bring in our card base. Okay. So now I'm going to stick the black down to the base and that onto there, and then we will be done. So I just like to use a tape runner because it's nice and easy and quick. And when you're doing paper to paper like this, it's no big deal. Alright, so we're going to stick this down. It's 5 by 5, should be fine anyway. I like to stand up my card base and put the first matte layer, especially if it's going to line up exactly. That helps me get it all lined up and get a nice even press there. And then we're going to flip this guy over. I think actually for this one, because it's not flat and I can't really press down, I'm going to use my double-sided tape for this, the roll of tape, because it's just a little bit easier to apply. And I'm not going to be squishing my shaker card at all. And I'm going over a ribbon here, so we just want to make sure everything's going to stay in place nicely. Okay, so let's stick this to our base. Okay, make sure the edges are all adhered nicely. And that is our card. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. I think actually though, oh, I forgot about the stars. We can't forget about these beautiful little stars. Let's add a few of them here and there. I love the glitter and the other ones. So let's just take my tape runner and we'll add a few. I really kind of like the little ones. What if we put like one on top of there? Wouldn't that be cute? This to me is just like, almost like, you know, if you're adding sequins or bling or something. I love these little stars just to add little accents. Look at how pretty that is. Let's see, let's do one of these. Ooh, what if we take the other little star actually? I kind of just want a bunch of these little stars, but I'm not going to go cut them out again. We'll use what we have, but that would be super cute, wouldn't it? But I do also want to put this large sentiment on the inside. I never do my insides, and I don't know about you, but I mean, you're making a card to give to someone, right? And you got to put something inside. And this sentiment is so fun, and I love the font, and I love what it says, and I just feel like I have to use it. So we're going to use it real quick. I'm going to do black again. I think that will look nice. Ooh, maybe I can use one of those big stars on the inside as an accent. What do you think? So let's just put this right here in the middle. Your future looks bright. Oh, I love the sentiment. I love the style. I love the font. Isn't that so cool? I love this set so much. I hope you do too. I hope this was fun. Sometimes you look at a set and you're like, I'm not sure how I would use that or what I would do. And this I could see being a particular set for a particular type of person. But once you see the fun, cool things you can do with it, man, it really just kind of stands out. So here we go. Here's the final card. Shaker. Love the shaker bits. Love the detail here and all of the sentiments. We made our own background paper here. Just really, really, really fun. And then we were able to use the larger sentiment on the inside with these fun little stars, and you still have room to write a message to someone. So there we go. This was such a fun project. Again, we used the Fortune Teller stamp and die set from Maker's Movement. We used the clear acetate sheets and the double-sided adhesive foam and some of the awesome shaker bits in the different kinds of stars, and we made this really fun shaker card. Very unique, very different, and I love it so much. So I hope that you had fun and found some inspiration here. Please consider subscribing to my channel so you don't miss future videos. And thank you so much for being here today. Have a great day. Bye.